Oh Lord, I see what brings me here. It's a mother to all my wanderings. The valley's green will age with me. Its dirt will shine and linger.
Hey, what's up guys? I'm in Howth, Ireland, or as they like to call it, Howth. And we're hiking along the shoreline trail here that was given to us as a tip by one of our tour guides when we took a tour of Dublin, a free walking tour. And he said a lot of people go to the cliffs of Moher, but it's just packed with people. I'd heard and read some good things about Howth from the internet, just doing some simple Google searches. So I wanted to come out here and see what it was. I tried to get out here really early one morning for sunrise to photograph the lighthouse that's out here. However, it seems the city of Dublin had something else to say about it as they clamped the wheel of my car and I couldn't get out here. So we came out here as we were going up to Navan in Ireland, and we just wanted to hike along the shoreline here. And what's been really interesting is that coming out to a location like this in the middle of the day, not so great light as some might traditionally think. My wife has always accused me of only shooting in sunrise and sunset, but it's good to get out in midday and have a hike with her and just kind of play with the light that you have. One of the big things that a lot of photographers, myself included, really struggle with are midday hours and shooting during midday hours and kind of seeing what kind of light you can get. And what I've found is kind of just playing with what's given to you, playing with light on one side versus the other, playing with shadows and dappled light that's kind of going across the landscape that you're shooting. I've especially found that useful with the lighthouse that's here, the Baily Lighthouse. And what's been really cool about it is we shot it from one side, it was really shadowed, not very good. Moved to the other side and it got a lot better because a lot of the direct sunlight was on it and you got dappled light going across, shooting the lighthouse when it was in the sunlight, and then the water below it kind of was in the clouds and in the shade. And it just looked really, really a lot better than any other shot that I've gotten of it. And it just goes to show, like, you can work with the light that's going on around you. You can work with the light of midday hours. You can create black and whites. You can basically do whatever you want with the lighthouse or any other subject that you're shooting in midday hours. Just get out and shoot. Remember why you loved photography in the first place. Just going out and finding different things that you want to take photos of.
And girls will come in festive clothes, and the boys will wait gazing, and birds will sing from tops of trees and sound like falling angels.
Okay, so I just got to my house and I wanted, with some of these videos where I go out into the field, is show you the post-processing techniques and the workflow behind the end result photograph. So you just saw all the infield ideas and thoughts on Howth and how I got working around that lighthouse. So I wanted to show you the photo that I decided to use for Howth and that lighthouse and the post-processing workflow that goes into it. So let's go straight over to my computer screen right now and see exactly how I did this photograph. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go to Open Image and I'm gonna locate that photo that I took. Okay, so finally found it. I'm gonna come into this and really pick out the photo that I wanna use. There was a spot on Howth Island where I had this really great view of the lighthouse with stacked sea cliffs going out to the lighthouse that I thought was a really cool effect. And then clouds started moving over and shading one part of the sea cliff and kept the highlighted part that was actually the lighthouse cliff lit up and really yellow. So I wanted to use that to show you what kind of light I got and what kind of light I was dealing with. So all you have to do is locate this image in Luminar 2018 and bring it over into the software as well. It may seem weird that I use Luminar 2018. A lot of you guys use Lightroom. I like Luminar 2018 for landscape photography. I really think it works very, very well for landscapes. So here's the image that we're going to be processing. Really cool image right off the bat. You see like over here the shadows that are going on and then the highlights over here on this sea cliff. And this is really cool with like seascape photography, getting this effect in midday hours. I really like it. So all I'm going to do first is I'm going to go to mid image enhancer, and I like working with presets first on my photography. And I really like how it brings out a lot of the natural sea color, and you can even see some of that dappled highlighting light on the ocean, which I think is really cool. The darker blues are shadows, the lighter blues are these highlights. So you see this lighter blue goes all the way across into the highlighted area. I really like that effect. The first thing I'm going to do is crop this down just a tiny bit because I do not like this tree coming out over here. So I'm going to go to Tools, Crop, and I'm going to lock this crop and just bring that cropped area in a little bit. I might bring this area in a tiny bit and then pull it up just a tiny bit. So I think that looks pretty good. I'm gonna hit done and it's gonna apply this crop to the overall photo. So this is what we're gonna be working with. Now, when you add a preset, what you need to know is that it does something to your sliders. And this is gonna be a lot like Lightroom, but there's some different features in Luminar 2018 that we have to work with that I'll show you in just a second. So contrast is up. I'm going to increase that even more. Highlights are down. I'm going to bring those back up a little bit. Shadows are down. I'm going to bring those down slightly, right about there. And then whites or blacks are fine. And then clarity, I'm going to pull up just a little bit more. And then vibrance and saturation, what you need to know about vibrance and saturation is that saturation works with global colors, everything, and it just booms those colors. With vibrance, it really pulls out greens and blues. So what I have in this photo is a lot of green and blue, so I'm actually going to increase that pretty significantly, and then I'm even gonna pull some of the sats down and work with those one-on-one. So that pretty much does it for this. Next thing I'm gonna do is what I like to do is you can add layers and filters to this overall photo. So unlike Lightroom and Luminar 2018, what you can do is add in a layer on top of the basic edits that you've already made and even add in like tools on top of it. So I'm gonna add a layer here, just a new adjustment layer. I'm gonna go to add filters and I'm going to go to this accent AI filter. It does some really cool things with like shadows and just makes a lot of details pop. I like what it does even if I don't add a whole lot to it. Then I'm gonna add another layer and just start stacking these layers on top of each other like you may do in Photoshop. So next thing I'm gonna go to is the Hsl filter. And I'm just going to play around here with some of the highlights. I'm going to increase the red saturations a lot just because I like how that red banister really pops against the blue and adds just this really unique touch of color to that blue. And then I'm going to go to the hue slider and I'm actually going to move the green down so it's a little bit more yellow in this photo. It was actually really yellow. It was like sea grasses in this photo. So I really want those to be a little bit more realistic rather than stark greens. And then I'm going to come to saturation and I'm going to increase the saturation on that yellow and really make those sea grasses pop out in this seascape. I think that looks a lot better when we pull out the yellows instead of the greens that were there. And you also pull out a lot of this like sea moss that's growing on the side of the rocks down here. Next thing I'm going to look for is just, you know, anything that's really going on. Like I want to bring out some of these greens that are on the shaded sea cliff over here, and just bring out a little bit more luminance in those and make that really pop out, just to add some more contrast and interest level to this photo. And I honestly think that looks pretty good. Like it's a pretty quick workflow for this photograph, nothing big. And I'm gonna select the before and after slider view so you can see what we did to this photo using Luminar 2018, which is linked below in the video description if you want to check that out a little bit more. And I mean, I think that looks pretty sweet for a midday photo. I don't know about you, but I like it. I like the end result, and I'm gonna stick with that right there. We have some really good contrast of light going on. We have some really good contrast of color with yellows and blues and reds against the blues and stark whites and darkness. And it's just an overall really cool photo that you can capture at midday hours. Even if you're not seriously shooting at midday, I highly suggest that you at least go out and scout locations, take a few photos while you're out. You never know what you might get in the field. Thanks so much for watching, guys. If you liked this video or you found it interesting at all, hit the thumbs up button, comment below on any locations that maybe I need to check out and scout out some more and go shoot. Or if you haven't subscribed to this channel already, really consider subscribing to this channel and come with us on so many more adventures. And also, if you want to keep watching, that's an option too. Click on the playlist that's playing right now. That'll take you on more photography adventures, and also a subscribe option as well right now.